If your survey insights are failing to drive positive, real-world action, then you need a better system supporting your research, and I'll show you just the one now. Welcome, friends and foes, to another Data Devotional. I'm Luciano Pesci, founder and CEO of Emperitas and Nexum. The data problem that we're going to tackle today comes from survey research, and this is about the approach, not the tool itself. There's a time-tested, optimized method for collecting actionable survey research, and it depends on a series of prerequisite qualitative steps. Almost all brands skip right over this and jump straight to the survey. This is also why survey research can be associated with bad outcomes, because the results that you see in the data don't end up matching the real-world outcomes. We see this in customer feedback around product features that no one uses despite the fact that they asked for them. We also see this in the political sphere where political opinion polling has basically broken down. And what's common between those situations is that there was no prerequisite qualitative work completed leading up to the survey, so it was effectively just a guess. Quick disclaimer, I'm not going through in any detail the component parts that I'm going to cover. If you want the best practices for qualitative and quantitative research, there are videos in the Emperitas playlist Dawn of the Data Age on our YouTube channel. When I'm using the word survey today, it's probably in this context, as one of the three data origin sources, the other two being observation and experimentation. Survey data can be the result of qualitative or quantitative methods. It can be the result of a paper survey, a digital survey, in-person interviews. What is common is that you are asking a direct question in some way and you are getting a direct response. You're not observing it and it's not involved with experimentation. Collecting survey insights requires a system. This system will help you avoid duplication, wasted effort, and frustrating respondents who are people that you should care a great deal about since you're reaching out to them for feedback. Any survey system is going to have to be able to do the following. It's going to have to be able to connect the researcher and the respondent. Sometimes this is face-to-face, sometimes this is by phone, sometimes this is just through a digital exchange like an online survey. But the researcher and the respondent are capable of connecting. It needs to be able to gather and organize that information. These are the responses, this could be paper or digital, recordings, especially for the qualitative interviews, transcriptions of those recordings, researcher notes. All of those pieces need to be digitized, organized, and saved. The system should also surface the most important insights and empower you to take correct action on them. So regardless of which approach you're going to take, qualitative or quantitative, if you are collecting information through the survey approach, this is what the system that you have to build should be capable of doing. Let's connect this problem of a lacking survey system with the steps and methods of a streamlined survey insight collection process. As you'll see in the worked example coming up, we're jumping in mid-process. So everything that follows assumes that we have already completed the SMART goals and the data audit. This means we know what we're after, what data we have to help in that process, and the steps that we have to go about to execute on it. Your first step should be to survey the public domain for the existing information and material that's relevant to your project, because there's going to be a huge amount of it. So much, in fact, that you will get paralyzed by the amount if you try to sort through it and utilize it all. What you need to do is piggyback on expertise, specifically 3 to 5 experts who know what information is worth utilizing and what information should be ignored. This is an important first step because it will focus your qualitative research on what matters, and this is going to start building towards the survey. These are called interviews because you will apply the same methods as the qualitative interviews to these conversations with experts. But the goal is to whittle down all of the information to what matters most and roll that into the qualitative phase of research. But before you ask questions, you need to know the audience. And this means putting together a target list and quotas. If you already have personas as a brand, you should use them here. Otherwise, however you slice and dice the individuals, you need to set quotas as a goal. You probably won't reach them, but you need to have them as a guiding force. A lot of the qualitative and quantitative research that follows can also be tailored to these individuals if you know specifically which persona or customer type you're talking to. So how do you find these individuals? Internally, you can use your CRM or your ERP. These will contain the information you need to identify individuals and to reach out to them. If you have to rely on external sources, now you're talking about purchasing lists, which I include panel companies in this, and running advertisement. So how are you going to reach out to the individuals that you need to survey? One of the first and most important choices that you'll face is the channel selection. Is it going to be multi-channel, omni-channel, meaning you're going to reach out by email, in person, by mail, by advertisement, purchasing a list? Omni-channel would be all of the possible channels that you think you could reach the individuals through. Multi-channel would be a smaller subset of those. Your choice of channels will also determine the kinds of messages that you have to put together, but it's good to start with an email template. You'll need somewhere between 3 and 5 emails total with the initial invitation and then a few follow-ups. Solicitation is an iterative process, especially the qualitative phase where you're going to have to set appointments with individuals to connect usually. In that case, it helps to use a scheduling tool, and I would never chase an individual who has missed the second appointment, but you will have to keep slogging at this to get individuals into the interviews and to get individuals into the survey. At this point, you've reached a big moment, the interview. This can be done one-on-one or in focus groups if you're into those, but this is what you'll need for the interview pipeline. Your respondent targets, that's the lists and the quotas, your participation solicitation messages, a filtering survey, we call these a mini quant, the interview script, aka the IDI script, which is built using the secondary research and the expert interviews that you conducted earlier, interview recordings and researcher notes, and finally, the incentive. With all of these pieces, you are ready to conduct and process qualitative interviews. And then you use those qualitative interview results to shape the final survey. Everything that we've covered so far, that's the stuff that most brands skip, which is why when they get to this point and they start to craft a survey, that it's an educated guess at best. It doesn't benefit from any of the existing research that's already out there, from the expert feedback, or from hearing directly from the respondents themselves through the qualitative interviews. And that survey can never produce as actionable of insights as one that has gone through those requisite steps. Like with the interview pipeline, the survey pipeline has components. You need respondent targets, the quotas and the lists, which have hopefully been updated based on the results that you saw in the qualitative phase through the mini quant. You'll need solicitation messages for all of the channels that you plan to use. You'll need the questionnaire or the survey itself, which should have been built using the qualitative results, which were themselves built from the secondary research and the expert interview. You will also need a live link to the survey or a way to get into the survey software on a regular basis and look at the results. This is very important during the soft launch, but during the full launch, you'll want to keep monitoring this. And like with the qualitative interviews, you will have some kind of incentive that you need to be able to collect and distribute. An additional component that I highly recommend, which we covered last week in the Starting Backwards devotional, is external data for embedding. This can be used for triggering logic, survey flow. It can also be a quick way to append data that you're going to use during eventual EDA. With field work, the moment of truth has arrived. You will go through 3 stages to conduct your field work. Pre-testing, that's with your internal team. This is to find errors in the programming, language, mistakes, as much as you can clean up on your own before this is put in front of the actual respondents. Then you will have the soft launch. You've made all of those updates, and now you're going to put it in front of the real respondents, but it's a small sample. You'll see how they interact with the survey, and you'll make modifications as necessary. With that done, you're now ready for the full launch. And you will push this out on every channel to every respondent, every target that you have within your list to fill your quotas. And then you'll watch to make sure that the results are coming in consistently. Open-ended response text fields are a wonderful place to find if there are errors with the programming of the survey that are making it difficult on the respondent side. Once you have got as close to filling your quotas as possible, you need to close the survey and download all of the related materials. This is a documentation step. This would involve, if you're using Qualtrics, the QSF file, that's the survey design file itself. Other tools have similar files. A PDF of the survey, you'll see why that's important here in a moment. The raw data files, and any lists that you used in the solicitation. Bundle that all together along with your secondary research, expert interviews, and qualitative interview recordings and notes, and you'll have the beginnings of what we call the project treasure chest. We're going to solve this survey research system problem with one of the most complete real-world examples that we've ever put out to date, the Utah Digital Marketing Collective's 2018 Annual Event Survey. Background on this project and the entire streamlined survey system are available in these 2 links. The first is the slide deck, and the second is a recording of the presentation of that slide deck. The slide deck and the presentation being a summary of the Utah Digital Marketing Collective's annual event and the results of that. So the first half of this presentation focuses on lifetime value. You can skip past that if it's not of any interest to you. But the second part of the presentation is the step-by-step process within which is all of the survey research. I'll show you that presentation in the relevant slides right now. By following the first link on that slide, it will take you to this PDF. You can skip right ahead once you open it to slide 38, where the Thinking Broadly portion of the bigger Think Broad, Mind Deep, and Explain Simply framework is laid out. It's only a few slides, but it lays out the process of thinking broadly, the SMART goals and the data audit that were completed. Remember, we started off with a prerequisite that was already done. Visualizes the project roadmap and what would happen, and then gets into the streamlined components themselves. So here is a link to the secondary research that was conducted. Here is a link to the IDI script that was used for the experts and for the attendees, some of which were Digital Marketing Collective members and some of which were not. And finally, you have the quantitative survey itself, which I said the PDF along with the QSF file is important in an earlier comment. That's because if you follow the first link on this slide, which is a Google shortened link that should still work, it's not the links issue. It's that I don't think that the DMC has their Qualtrics account active, and as a result, the preview mode of the survey is not accessible. So you'll have to rely on the second link on this slide, which is the PDF of the survey itself. But slide 38 through 44 lays out the streamlined survey process with documents that you can refer to, review, or reuse. If you're interested, you can continue on through the rest of this presentation. The mining deeply portion has a similar layout and also links to all of the relevant documents. Some of those are code, so it's R scripts for clustering, segmentation around personas, and the calculation of lifetime value. You can also jump ahead to the explain simply portion if you want to look at the output, the visuals, the dashboards, and some of the deliverables that were given. But this is a fully worked example from beginning to end, and what is relevant to you is the portion about the streamlined survey research system. Keep your data progress going by making today the day that you turn away from your old wasteful survey ways and embrace the streamlined survey system that's been laid out through the DMC example for you, and we'll see you next week.